Online, we experience a special kind of cognitive dissonance. With everything being just a click away, it's really easy to find something that's dark, grotesque, or even weird. Today we'll talk about the dark and grotesqueness of people with true stories. Keep that in your head with some of the monsters that will be discussed today. Our first story happened not too long ago, on the April 16th, 2020. This displayed here is a picture of Khalid Ahmad. He doesn't look like a terrible man, you wouldn't think. But what he did is actually way worse. He butchered his father. After that, he walked into a bagel shop near the crime scene and claimed that he not only killed his dad, but also devoured parts of the body. One of the store's owners alerted the officer who was outside that it appears his partner was having an interaction with a person that they know, and his irregular is crazy. The perp was ranting about how he killed his father and had visible signs of blood on him. Officers handcuffed Ahmad and returned to the two-family brick home on 84th Street, where they found 57-year-old Ahmad's mutilated body. The two had holed up in the family Diker Heights home during the coronavirus outbreak. Ahmad, who was charged with murder and weapons possession, later denied detectives that he had eaten parts of his father's body, sources said. He was taken to Lutheran Hospital for evaluations. Officers had been at the home before, responding to reports of a disturbance at least 4 times in February, including a February 15th incident where Ahmad was taken to the hospital after his father reported he had a knife. According to a GoFundMe page he posted last year, the younger Ahmad was unhappy about living in Brooklyn and sought $1 million to return to the Palestine territories to be with his family. He griped about cockroaches everywhere, including in his bed, processed food, and the lack of money on the GoFundMe page. "Smells like dog pee everywhere I go," Ahmad wrote in a list of reasons why I'm leaving New York. Page, posted on September 25th, had received no donation. Our next story you may have heard of, but if you haven't, it is about this man, Karl Tanzler. He's a German-born radiology technologist at the Marine Hospital Service in Key West, Florida. He developed an obsession with a Cuban-American tuberculosis patient. We're going to go into his history. He grew up in the German Empire, but at some point wound up in Australia just prior to the outbreak of World War I. The person that Karl Tanzler ended up having an obsession with, as we'd find out later, is Elena Helen de Hoyos, that carried on well after her death. Elena was eventually diagnosed with tuberculosis, a typically fatal disease at the time, that eventually claimed the lives of almost all of her immediate family. Tanzler, with his self-proclaimed medical knowledge, attempted to treat and cure Elena with a variety of medicine, as well as X-ray, electrical equipment that were brought to the Hoyos' home. Tanzler showered Elena with gifts of jewelry and clothing, and allegedly professed his love to her, but no evidence has surfaced to show that any of his affection was reciprocated by Elena. Despite Tanzler's best efforts, Elena died of tuberculosis at her parents' home, Key West, on October 25th, 1931. Tanzler paid for her funeral with the permission of her family. Then he commissioned the construction of an above-ground mausoleum in the Key West cemetery, which he visited almost every night. One evening in April 1933, Tanzler crept through the cemetery where Elena was buried and removed her body from the mausoleum, carting it through the cemetery after dark on a toy wagon, and transported it to his home. He reportedly said that Elena's spirit would come down to him, and he would sit by her grave and serenade her corpse with a favorite Spanish song. He also said that she would often tell him to take her from his grave. Tanzler attached the corpse's bone together with piano wire and filled the face with glass eyes. As the skin of the corpse decomposed, Tanzler replaced it with silk cloth soaked in wax, plaster of Paris. As the hair fell out of Elena's decomposing scalp, Tanzler fashioned a wig from her hair, which he had previously obtained from her mother. Tanzler filled the corpse's abdominal and chest cavity with rags to keep the original form. He dressed Elena's remains in stockings, jewelry, and gloves, and kept the body in his bed. Tanzler also used copious amounts of perfume disinfectants and preserving agents to mask the odor and forestall the effects of the corpse decomposition. In October 1940, Elena's sister Flordina heard rumors of Tanzler sleeping with the disinterred body of her sister. He was also caught dancing with her corpse in front of an open window. Flordina notified the authorities, and Tanzler was arrested and detained. Tanzler was psychiatrically examined and found mentally competent to stand trial on the charge of wantonly and maliciously destroying a grave and removing a body without authorization. After a preliminary hearing on 1940 at the Monroe County Courthouse in Key West, Tanzler was held to answer on the charge, but the case was eventually dropped and he was released as the statute of limitations for the crime had expired. Shortly after the corpse's discovery by authorities, Elena's body was examined by physicians and pathologists and put on public display at the Dean Lopez Funeral Home, where it was viewed by as many as 6,800 people. Elena's body was eventually returned to the Key West Cemetery, where the remains were buried in an unmarked grave in a secret location to prevent further tampering. Facts underlying the case and the preliminary hearings drew interest from the media at the time, most notably the Key West Citizen and Miami Herald, and created a sensation among the public, both regionally and nationwide. The public mood generally sympathetic to Tanzler, who many viewed as an eccentric romantic. Later in his life, in 1944, Tanzler moved to Pasco County, Florida, where he wrote an autobiography that appeared in the pulp publication Fantastic Adventures. His home was near his wife Doris, who apparently helped to support Tanzler. In later years, Tanzler received United States citizenship in 1940. Separated from his obsession, Tanzler used a death mask to create a life-sized effigy of Elena and lived with it until his death at the age of 75 on July 3, 1952. His body was discovered on the floor of his home 3 weeks after his death. He died under the name of Carl Tanzler. It has been recounted that Tanzler was found in the arms of Elena's effigy upon discovery of his corpse, but his obituary reported he had died on the floor behind one of his organs. The obituary recounted a metal cylinder on a shelf above the table, wrapped in its silken cloth, and a robe was a waxen image. Hey all, welcome to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it a lot, as much as I did making it. If you guys really like it, you know what to do. Do the YouTube thing. Go watch probably more positive content to get your mood up from that. But hey, happy Halloween, and I hope you all enjoy it.